strategy, Bo.
I've stolen Kane's AI program. I want to make a deal with you. Are you interested?
The Young and the Restless, Y&R, recap for Thursday, January 22nd, reveals that Billy Abbott, Jason Thompson, will have a final answer for Kane Ashby, Billy Flynn, while Victor Newman, Eric Braeden, throws Jack Abbott, Peter Bergman, out. At Sharon Newman's, Sharon Case, house, she'll realize Nick Newman, Joshua Morrow, slept on the sofa instead of in the guest room. Nick will flash back to holding the fentanyl bag on the porch, but he won't remember what happened after that. Sharon will convince Nick to go back to the hospital and get checked out, but he'll want to talk to Victor Newman, Eric Braeden, first. At the main house on the ranch, Victor will order Jack to get his hands off Nikki Newman, Melody Thomas Scott. Jack and Nikki will try to explain it was just a comforting hug, but Victor will kick Jack out. At Society, Diane Jenkins Abbott, Susan Walters, and Kyle Abbott, Michael Mealer, will make phone calls as they try to make sure Jabbo bounces back with new products in stores. Jack will eventually arrive with updates on his confrontation with Victor and the news that Kane offered Chancellor to Billy. That'll bring concerns about Billy putting himself in Victor's crosshairs. Back at the ranch, Chelsea Lawson, Melissa Claire Egan, and Adam Newman, Mark Grossman, will speak with Nikki and Victor about the steps they've been taking. There'll be stories published that heavily imply Kane and Phyllis Summers, Michelle Stafford, committed computer fraud when they accessed the Newman system to create chaos. Adam will talk about the state and federal laws that might have been broken. It'll be mentioned that Victoria Newman, Amila Heinley, filed a complaint with the Federal Trade Commission. Nikki will wonder if that's safe considering Victor stole the AI program first, but Adam will suggest all of this seems untraceable. Chelsea will note that since Phyllis installed the program, all fingers will hopefully point to her if it does get traced. Nick will hobble in at one point and get the latest info on what Newman's up against. After Nick asks about Matt Clark, Roger Howarth, Victor will assure him that he'd been taken care of. Nick will suggest that maybe they need to handle Kane the way they handled Matt, so Victor will hint that he's considered it. However, Victor will have some other things to deal with first. On Kane's train in Thursday's Y&R episode, Victoria will barge in and insist the Newman takeover will happen over her dead body. After Victoria mentions that she called Lily Winters, Crystal Khalil, she'll add that Lily put it on speakerphone so Maddie Ashby, last played by Lexi Stevenson, could hear. Victoria will acknowledge that Maddie and Lily were already done with Kane, but they're even more disgusted after hearing about his latest plot. As for Charlie Ashby, last played by Noah Alexander Jerry, Victoria will gloat about calling him, too. After Victoria taunts Kane about Charlie thinking he might actually give his dad another chance, she'll insist that's over now. Kane will get irritated over Victoria trying to use his family against him, but he'll claim he doesn't care and will think Victor should just accept the loss. Victoria will throw Summer Newman's, last played by Alison Lanny, disapproval in Phyllis' face and point out that she never deserved Nick. Phyllis will seem genuinely unbothered and will continue to toot her own horn as a winner in all this. Victoria will head back to the ranch, where she'll offer the scoop on her visit to Kane and Phyllis. Victor will ultimately leave Jill Abbott, Jess Walton, a voicemail about Kane crossing the line just as he predicted, so he'll expect her to get back to him. At home, Billy and Sally will continue to bicker over the Chancellor situation. In the end, Sally will admit it's Billy's choice, but she'll also have to make their own choice about their relationship. Sally will think back on moments related to Abbott communications later and wonder how much she can take now that Billy is obsessed with Chancellor again. It'll lead to Sally calling Audra Charles, Zuleika Silva, and leaving a message since she'll need someone to vent to. As for Billy, he'll head to Kane's train and argue with Phyllis briefly before giving Kane his answer. Kane will make it clear that it's a resounding yes and will be ready to move forward with a Chancellor deal. The Young and the Restless spoilers say Billy could be sealing his own disastrous fate, so stay tuned. Where Abby is trying to have a peaceful moment with Dom, Mariah approaches, and the polite small talk quickly evaporates. Mariah's questions become more direct. Has he had any more of those ear infections? He was prone to them, you know. I remember every doctor's visit. Abby's replies grow shorter, her body physically curving around Dom as if to shield him. The scene reaches its peak when Dom, perhaps picking up on the tense energy, reaches out for Mariah. It's a simple, instinctual toddler gesture, but it hangs in the air like a thunderclap. Abby freezes. A triumphant, painful gleam flashes in Mariah's eyes. "See," she says softly, her voice laced with a mixture of sorrow and victory. He knows. On some level, he always knows his mother. The line is a declaration of war, and it lands with the force of a physical blow. Abby is left speechless and shaken, clutching her son, while Mariah turns and walks away, knowing her first strategic strike has hit its mark. Ripple effects across Genoa City. The brewing storm doesn't exist in a vacuum. The episode expertly weaves in the fallout across other key relationships. Lily Winters, trying to manage the Chancellor Winters merger, is frustrated by Devon's distraction and fears the personal drama will spill into their business. She becomes a reluctant sounding board for both Devon's guilt and Abby's panic. Nate Hastings, ever the opportunist, sees potential advantage in the chaos, quietly considering how a destabilized Devon could affect the corporate landscape. Meanwhile, in the Abbott family quarters, Jack and Tracy Abbott are deeply concerned. They support Abby unconditionally, but Jack, with his vast history of familial conflict, warns her that fighting fire with fire might burn their own house down. He advocates for a mediated, legal approach, fearing that an emotional street fight will only traumatize Dominic in the long run. A city on the brink. Friday, January 23rd, is not just an episode, it's a turning point. The debut of the recast Dominic marks the moment this child steps out of infancy and into the center of the canvas as a person whose future is actively contested. Mariah is no longer a victim to be pitied. She is a formidable antagonist armed with a morally complex claim and nothing left to lose. Devon and Abby's perfect modern family faces its most existential threat, one that challenges the very definitions of motherhood and family they built their lives upon. As the episode closes, we see Abby weeping quietly in the mansion's grand foyer, holding a sleeping Dominic tighter than ever. Devon stares out a window, his reflection a mask of conflicted anguish. And across town, Mariah stands on her balcony, looking toward the Abbott estate, a single tear tracing a path down her cheek, her jaw set in unwavering resolve. The battle for Dominic Abbott Chancellor Winters has officially begun, and the fallout promises to tear at the very fabric of Genoa City, leaving viewers to ask one heart-wrenching question. In a war where everyone loves the child, who has the right to call him son?